Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhaktivedanta. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare.
Sri Caitanya-caritamrta, Adi-lila, Chapter 1, text number 61. Can you hear in the back? We will hear from His Holiness Kesava Bharati Das Prabhu, who will read to us from text 61. I'll read 62. You can read this Bengali, then read the translation proof, and then speak something.
Needless to say, this is completely unexpected. So what comes out, I'm not responsible for. You just have to take it like that.
Responsible?
You.
You and I.
You are. Ishvara Sarupa Bhakta Tanra Adhisthana Bhakti Hridhaye Krishna Satata Vishrama. A pure devotee, constantly engaged in the loving service of the Lord, is identical with the Lord, who is always seated in his heart. Purport. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is one without a second, and therefore he is all-powerful. He has inconceivable energies, of which three are principal. The devotee is considered to be one of these energies, never the energetic. The energetic is always the Supreme Lord. The energies are related to him for the purpose of eternal service. A living entity in the conditioned stage can uncover his aptitude for serving the Absolute Truth by the grace of Krishna and the spiritual master. Then the Lord reveals himself within his heart, and he can know that Krishna is seated in the heart of every pure devotee. Krishna is actually situated in the heart of every living entity, but only a devotee can realize this fact. Om Ajnana-timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Udmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Tadati Sabadantikam. Sometimes a person will take up devotional service, or make a show, rather, of devotional service, and think that he has become the Lord. You can go anywhere in India, on any street corner in Calcutta, as Prabhupada said, and you can meet people like this. Because the philosophy, the impersonal philosophy, has become so all-pervasive in this Kali Yuga that in general, when people think of God and they think of themselves in relationship to God, their hearts are so filled with envy that they can't help themselves but think that they're as good as God, and that therefore the goal of devotional life or spiritual life is to become God. So here in this translation, Krishnadass Kaviräja Goswami is saying that the devotee, the pure devotee, who is constantly engaged in serving, the loving service of the Lord, is identical with the Lord. So unscrupulous commentators and persons who are after some prestige and false eulogy from these ideas, they take this to mean that they are actually none different than God. So we have to not exactly interpret. Srila Prabhupada said, interpretation is necessary when something is not completely clear. Otherwise it's not necessary. He used the example that if we say that a city is on the river, then there may be some clarification necessary, because a person may think, oh, how can a city be on a river? It's water. How can anything be built on water? So the clarification is that the city is on the bank of the river, not on the river. But when we speak commonly language, sometimes we say something like that. So here it is said, a pure devotee constantly engaged in the loving service of the Lord is identical with the Lord. So clarification is necessary. It doesn't mean that the pure devotee of the Lord is identical in all respects with the Lord. Here it is described. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada highlights that the Supreme Lord is one without a second. Mattak paratanam nanyat kinchit asti dhananjaya. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, he confirms that there's no one or nothing that is equal to or greater than Krishna. He is the summum bonum, he is the source of everything. Eko bahunam yo vedadati kaman. All other living beings are being supported and nourished by one living being, the Supreme Lord. So how is it that we can become identical in all respects to the Supreme Lord? It is not possible. So here we understand the meaning to be that if a person is, by his own use of his independent will, keeping himself connected with Krishna through the process of devotional service, then Krishna responds or reciprocates with the devotee, who is always thinking of Krishna, and Krishna always thinks of the devotee. So because the devotee is always in Krishna's mind, that devotee becomes as good as Krishna. He becomes empowered by Krishna. Actually, Krishna only reveals himself through the heart of those devotees who have agreed to keep him in their hearts consciously. Here at the end of the purport, Prabhupada says that he confirms, reminds us actually, that Krishna is in the heart of all living beings. And if you look closely through the instructions of Bhagavad Gita, you can see for yourself that Krishna is there, directing the wanderings of all living beings. But some of them are conscious of it, and some of them are not conscious of it. So only a devotee who has pleased Krishna by his loving service, by this constant absorption in remembrance of Krishna, to that person, to that devotee, Krishna naturally reciprocates. And then in connection with Krishna, that person becomes also as powerful as Krishna, and in some cases even more powerful. Not in an absolute sense, but in relationship. Just see, Arjuna, he is surrendered to Krishna. In the beginning of Bhagavad Gita, he surrenders to Krishna as disciple. And yet, Krishna is driving his chariot, and Arjuna's telling him, go here, go there. You know, when a fighter, a chariot driver has a chariot, when a chariot fighter has a chariot driver, he has to say so many things to the chariot driver. Do this, go here, go faster, go slow, do this, do that. And Krishna is there acting as Arjun's chariot driver and obeying his every command. He has to, otherwise there would be some problem in the war. So like that, Krishna will take the position, subordinate position, to a person who's fully surrendered, out of transcendental love. This is the necessity of the day. In order to keep Krishna in the heart, it requires intense feeling. It requires an intense sense of love. I remember Prabhupada talked about this in the very, very beginning of the Bhagavatam. In one of the first purports, he says, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he describes the relationship that if a man or a woman has a paramour other than their husband or wife, that is to be indicated that the feeling or the relationship is very strong, the attachment is very strong. And therefore, the man or woman will do their duties perfectly, even more perfectly than they normally would, just so the other party will not become suspicious that they are thinking of someone else. So Krishna said this is, Srila Prabhupada said that this type of intense absorption in loving service is required in order to think of Krishna, in order to keep Krishna in the mind while one's doing one's various duties in life. Because the duties of life, they place so much demands on us. When you're having a family, or you have a job, or you have duty, you have responsibility in our movement for spreading the movement, such big responsibilities, so many things we have to do in order to accomplish Prabhupada's mission. But at the same time, we have to have that sense of remembering Krishna. We have to keep remembering who we are, what we're doing, who we're doing it for. And this remembrance is here described in this verse and purport. That by that remembrance, Krishna becomes so pleased that he reciprocates with the pure devotee by giving all empowerment, by giving all facility. And to such a person, there's no impediments. Nothing can stand in the person's way who's thinking of Krishna, actually. So in that sense, we can say the pure devotee is as good as Krishna. Not that he's Krishna, exactly, but he acts in such a way that the impediments don't actually alter his course towards Krishna. So here it says the living entity in the conditional stage can uncover his aptitude for serving the absolute truth by the grace of Krishna and the spiritual master. That means that in order to actually uncover this tendency that we have, we can only uncover it by hearing and associating with someone who has uncovered it.
Text 62. Sadhavo hridayam mayam, sadhunam hridayam tvaham, mat anyatena jananti, naham tebhyo manag api. Saints are my heart, and only I am their hearts. They do not know anyone but me, and therefore I do not recognize anyone besides them as mine. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. This verse appears in the Srimad Bhagavatam 9468, in connection with a misunderstanding between Durvasha Muni and Maharaj Ambarisha. As a result of this misunderstanding, Durvasha Muni tried to kill the king. When the Sudarshan Chakra, the celebrated weapon of Godhead, appeared on the scene for the devoted king's protection. When the Sudarshan Chakra attacked Durvasha Muni, he fled in fear of the weapon and sought shelter from all the great demigods in heaven. Every one of them was unable to protect him, and therefore Durvasha Muni prayed to Lord Vishnu for forgiveness. Lord Vishnu advised him, however, that if he wanted forgiveness, he had to get it from Maharaj Ambarisha, not from him. In this context, Lord Vishnu spoke this verse: "The Lord, being full and free from problems, can wholeheartedly care for his devotees. His concern is how to elevate and protect all those who have taken shelter at his feet. The same responsibility is also entrusted to the spiritual master. The bona fide spiritual master's concern is how the devotees, who have surrendered to him as a representative of the Lord, may make progress in devotional service. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is always mindful of the devotees who fully engage in cultivating knowledge of him, having taken shelter at his lotus feet." So the story of Durvasha Muni and Maharaj Ambarish is mentioned here. Maharaj Ambarish was a great yogi. Durvasha Muni was a great yogi. And sometimes it happens that someone who possesses great power of any type may become proud. And along with this pride comes envy. Envy of others' prowess. Just like Lord Indra is a very powerful king of heaven, he becomes envious or jealous or worried when he sees anyone who possesses great power which may threaten his position as the king of heaven. That's why he tried to interrupt the performance of yajna done by Prithu Maharaj, Prithu, who was about to perform 100 Aswamedha yajnas. And it is said that one can attain the position of Indradev if one performs 100 such yajnas. So he became worried, and he tried to interfere. He did interfere with this performance of yajna. So he heard about the glories of Maharaj Ambarish. Not that a pure devotee like Ambarish Maharaj advertises his own fame, but the fame follows a pure devotee. Just like that pillow, bottom pillow. Just like we will hear tomorrow. Put it down. Down. Put it down. Just like we will hear tomorrow about another great devotee, Madhavendra Puri, who also became very famous, although he had no interest for such fame. Tomorrow we will narrate a story about Madhavendra Puri. So Ambarish Maharaj was actually a pure devotee. He was doing Ekadasi, Brat, just like we are doing today. And this yogi came with 60,000 followers. He has 60,000 followers. You can imagine, we are 30 people. He has 20 times, or 2 times 30 times 1,000. 2,000 times what we are. And they all came at the same time to the ashram, a place where Ambarish was. And it is the duty of a host to feed the guests. So Ambarish Maharaj asked that you please take your bath. So they went to the Ganga to take their bath, and it became time, it was the next day, the Dwadasi day, to break the fast. You have to break the fast, say by 9 o'clock or something. So at the same time, you should not break a fast, or you should not eat before your guest eats. So Ambarish Maharaj could not understand what he should do. Should he break the fast, and that would complete the Ekadasi Vrat, or should he keep fasting because his guest had not eaten? And Durvasa Muni knew this. He came exactly at that time to create this dilemma. So Ambarish Maharaj, he consulted his Brahmin advisor. And the Brahmin advisor told him that you take some Charnamrita, because water doesn't exactly break a fast. So you take a little Charnamrita, and this way you will break the fast. At the same time, you have not really eaten anything. That was the main point. So he took a little Charnamrita on the order of his Brahmin advisor. But Durvasa Muni immediately, by his yoga power, could understand what happened. So he came and became very angry with the king, plucked out a hair from his sikha, and throwing it on the ground and uttering a curse, he created a big demon. And this demon immediately went to attack Maharaj Ambarish. But as soon as the devotee became in danger, the Lord immediately came to his rescue. And so the Lord sent his Sudarshan Chakra, the fiery discus weapon, and it slew the demon. And then, because when some curse or demon is created like this, if it doesn't do its job, then the person who throws that curse, he becomes attacked. So the Sudarshan Chakra went after Durvasa Muni, and it chased him all over the universe. He was such a powerful yogi, he could travel through the sky. Not just a little bit, but he could travel into outer space from one planet to another without any spaceship. And even he went as far as going to the spiritual sky. But wherever he went, whoever he sought the protection of, no one gave him protection. Why? Because he was a Vaishnava aparadi. He committed Vaishnava aparad. And Vaishnava aparad is such a thing that when it is committed, people immediately feel like they want to avoid that person. Because it is said that the holy name of the Lord can forgive anyone of any sin except this sin of Vaishnava aparad. Even Krishna's holy name feels unable practically to forgive this offense. So, when he came up to the point of Vishnu, Vishnu advised him that the only way you can get forgiveness is you have to beg forgiveness from Maharaj Ambarish, the Vaishnava who you have offended. Of course, the holy name, it is mentioned in Harinam Chintamani, that if you cannot get forgiveness from a Vaishnava, then you should chant the holy name, and gradually, by constant chanting, even that offense may be forgiven. At least perhaps it will influence the Vaishnava who you offended to eventually forgive you. When Maharaj Ambarish was finally approached by Durvasa Muni after 1 year of running around, he was very tired. And he finally approached him and he said that I have offended you. But Maharaj Ambarish, he felt that he had committed the offense. He said that if I have any pious credit, whatever assets I have, not only do I forgive you, but you please take these assets as your own. And he offered him all forgiveness like this. The point is here that a yogi is very powerful. And there's no yogi that is more powerful than Durvasha. And yet his power was insignificant in comparison to the bhakti of Maharaj Ambarish. So this proves that what is the position of bhakti and of the bhakta. So we are very fortunate to be engaged in the process of devotional service, because it cannot be equaled by any other method. We are very, very fortunate. By the grace of Srila Prabhupada, we have been given this opportunity. The whole world is practically being given the opportunity now to take to devotional life in a very simple way. Harinam, Kirtan, giving out prasadam, and books. These are our three principal preaching weapons. And by these three weapons, people get the chance for bhakti. When the Harinam party comes, people get to hear the holy name. They may also chant. Even if they ridicule, if they joke, still they get the benefit of namabhas, chanting which is beneficial and auspicious. Of course, the real chanting is to get the opportunity to chant in the association of devotees of the Lord in a favorable mood. That will come as we associate properly. In the beginning, we don't understand the value of chanting. What happened after that? In the beginning, we don't know how to chant properly. And we commit so many offenses. What was that offense you wanted to ask about?
Yes. Somebody asked me a question which I feel very difficult to answer, that why are there some initiating gurus in ISKCON fall down?
That will answer after. You said there was some dham apparat.
Yes.
Anyway, first point is that so many offenses are committed. All right, even this offense. You said, your question is, why is it that we see that even persons who accept the position of guru may fall down? And actually it is not only in ISKCON, but we see that there are cases, just like Durvasha Muni. Durvasha Muni had 60,000 disciples. Is there any ISKCON guru who has 60,000 disciples? Any ISKCON guru who can travel up to Vaikuntha yet? And still, he fell down. This is a fall down. He fell down, he committed a very maha aparat, very, bad sin, and fell down. So someone may commit that type of Vaishnava aparat, someone may fall down for sense enjoyment. That means the path of spiritual life is like a razor's edge. Prabhupada said that spiritual life is like a razor's edge. And a razor is very sharp, so when it is used properly, it can perform good work, cutting the hair. But if you're a little bit inattentive, then immediately the razor can cut. So spiritual life is very effective. The chanting of Hare Krishna, the hearing of Srimad Bhagavatam, association with devotees of the Lord, so many activities which we do are so effective. You can see how these people are doing parikrama. See how the ladies do parikrama? Lying on the side, they do dandavat. See the lady there? You can watch. Ladies can watch. So all of these activities, which are so advantageous for spiritual advancement, but at the same time, a little inattentiveness can create so much mishap. Just like if that lady does her parikram too much in the middle of the road, and a bus comes by, finished, she will die. So we have to be so conscientious that because at any moment it is like a razor's edge, there can be some cutting. So one should be humble. If one is humble, then as a result one will be able to get good advice. So generally we see that there are so many devotees in ISKCON, and by good advice they can be warned if there is some chance that the razor is being turned in the wrong direction. So sometimes a guru or anyone may become proud. Pride is possible because in the performance of bhakti, so many opulences will come. There may be followers, there may be wealth, there may be fame of so many things like this. So one should actually be very humble and always know that these opulences are actually Krishna's opulences. And Krishna is offering these opulences for the purpose of improving the service, not for sense enjoyment. But if by some chance one forgets this, and anything is possible like that, then there may be some difficulty. So, therefore, we have to be very conscientious. If even a powerful yogi, like Durvasha Muni, can fall down, if even a guru sometimes may fall, then we ordinary devotees should be so careful and attentive. It doesn't disprove the process of devotional service. If someone says, how come? From the point up to the point of prema, if someone has love of God, prema bhakti, then there's no anarthas, no unwanted things are in the heart. Then there's no possibility of fall down. But all the way up until Krishna prema, there is some chance that there is fall down. The example is given of Maharaj Bharati, who was a great king, and he had bhava bhakti. Bhava bhakti is rarely achieved. It is so rare. Very, very few people can ever achieve it. It's just the step before prema bhakti. But what happened to him? He was doing his austerities, he was doing his sadhana, his bhakti, and you know the story of Maharaj Bharati. He was sitting meditating, and suddenly he was looking next to a river, and a big what was it, tiger or lion? Lion roared, and at that moment one deer, pregnant deer, she was jumping over the river, hearing the sound of the roaring lion, thinking to save herself, and as she jumped, the baby deer, the fawn, came out. She gave birth to this baby deer, and the deer fell in, the little baby deer fell in the river and may have died. So Maharaj Bharati, hearing the sound and seeing this whole thing happening before his eyes, he immediately went and rescued that baby deer. And so he took this baby deer just like a child and took care of it. And as a result, the baby deer would sometimes lick the king's cheek, and if the baby deer went wandering away and didn't come back, then the king would become very worried, just like one becomes worried for one's own child. And in this way, the king gradually, slowly but surely, forgot everything. He forgot to do his normal devotional practices, being too much attached to that deer. And so one day, when he could not find the deer, he went looking for the deer, he fell down over a stone and died. And in his next birth, what did he take birth as? A deer. So here's an example of a perfect person. Practically he's perfect. Bhava Bhakti means nearly at the stage of perfection, and still he fell down. So what does this prove? What is the lesson that we should take from all of this? Can you give me that other pillow back here? What is the lesson we should take from all of this? To be so careful. We should become humbled by this. Instead of saying, see, Bharat Maharaj fell down, Darasha Muni fell down, ISKCON Gurus fell down. We should think, how easily I may fall down. That is the actual point. How easily I can fall down. So what is the security for not falling down? One who should strictly follow. Prabhupada said, strictly follow. If you strictly follow, then you won't fall down. Prabhupada once made the statement, at the last year, he said, I don't care if you don't improve or expand ISKCON, if you just maintain what I have given you. So in the same way, we should think how to maintain our spiritual life in a nice way. We may not be the biggest hero in Krishna consciousness, but if we can strictly follow, chanting 16 good rounds, strictly following the 4 principles, doing our devotional duties nicely, this is a great success and will be very dear to Guru and Krishna. So, here we are informed of how much concern Krishna has for all of us. And not only Krishna, but the representative of Krishna, Krishna's devotee. And who is the best of all the devotees of Krishna?
It's a representative.
And who is that representative? Sri Giriraj Govardhan, who is known as Hari Das Varyo, the best of all the servants of Hari. So, Giriraj Govardhan is so merciful. A pure devotee's association, one lava matra, a moment, 1/11th of a second. Now you have been living here already for many hours in the association of the Maha Bhagavata, Giriraj Govardhan. He's also a Bhagavata, but
No, he's living in the association.
he's also a Bhagavata. But this is the Maha Bhagavata, Govardhan. And we are able to stay here for more than 24 hours continuously. We will be able to stay at his lotus feet. So, it is said that when you are in the association of a great devotee of the Lord, don't ask for something paltry. Paltry means of little value. You should ask something from someone who is very, very wealthy. You should seek something of great value. So what is it that Giriraj Govardhan has that is of such great value? What is it that he has?
The dust of the lotus feet of Krishna on his head.
Krishna and Krishna's associates are always playing upon the slopes of Govardhan Hill and getting so much benefit in every respect. They love this hill so much. Of course, now, as the Kali Yuga progresses, we have to see this hill with transcendental vision. But we are told so many beautiful forests, so many lakes, so many rivers are decorating the sides of Govardhan Hill. And actually they are there, but we will have to see them through the eyes of Scripture and understand the great beauty of Sri Giriraj that attracts Krishna to come with all of his associates and have wonderful pastimes here. So this Giriraj Govardhan Hill is the devotee. He is the devotee who has facilitated unlimitedly wonderful pastimes of Krishna and Krishna's devotees, the of eternal associates, Parishat, devotees of the Lord. There are two types we'll learn in the coming verse. Parishats means the perfect devotees, and sadhaks, who Prabhupada translates as neophytes, persons who are practicing Krishna consciousness. As long as one is a sadhak, a practitioner, you cannot get the direct association of Krishna. But there are those who are parishats, who have never come in this material condition. And they are the associates of the Lord who are eternally residing at Braj. This Braj is in Prakat and Aprakat. Prakat means manifest and Aprakat, unmanifest. So we cannot see the Braj without getting the eyes to see Braj. And Giriraj Govardhan has the power to bless us to be able to see. We can pray that you have seen everything. You have arranged everything. All of the pastimes have happened on your own slope, on your lap. Just like if a child is sitting on the lap, you can see very nicely that child. So, Krishna and Krishna's associates, they're performing their activities right on the lap of Giriraj Govardhan. He has seen everything. So we ask him to bless us with the vision to be able to see in the same way. At the same time, we also want another blessing. And that is a blessing that which actually precedes or comes first. Please give us the blessing to somehow be pleasing to our spiritual master. Because without pleasing the devotee guru, how can one expect to please Krishna? So what is that service or activity which gives pleasure to guru? It is to help the guru in his service to his guru. And what is the guru's or the guru parampara's service? To reclaim the fallen conditioned souls. So the first prayer we can also make here is, give me some compassion, my dear Giriraj Govardhan. Give me some determination. Give me the qualities by which I can assist my spiritual master and the other devotees of the Lord in the mission of spreading Krishna consciousness. At the same time, give me that purity of heart by which one day I will qualify to be able to absorb myself in constantly remembering your transcendental pastimes. This is the goal of our Krishna consciousness movement, to always remember Krishna, never forgetting Krishna. So, Krishna is very kind. He has arranged the presence of Sri Govardhan, and Sri Govardhan and Srila Prabhupada are very kind to give us this place to reside here. Srila Prabhupada, practically his last desire was to go to Govardhan. Even though he was in Vrindavan, he taught us something very important, that the best place in Vrindavan is Govardhan. And Prabhupada wanted to be taken to Govardhan. So we remembered this desire of Srila Prabhupada, and we somehow were able, by Prabhupada's grace, to get this wonderful palace, fort. And we hope that we can bring Srila Prabhupada here once everything is finished nicely, and allow him to reside here and be able to eternally have darshan of Sri Giriraj Govardhan. So this is certainly a very holy place. Now we will ask Kesava Bharati Prabhu to speak another verse, the next text, which tells about holy places. Don't go too long, because we will say our Gayatri before it gets dark.
Bhavad Vida Bhagavatas Tirtha Bhuta Swayam Vivo Tirti Kurvanti Tirthani Swantakstena Kadhavita. Saints of your caliber are themselves places of pilgrimage. Because of their purity, they are constant companions of the Lord. And therefore they can purify even the places of pilgrimage. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. This verse was spoken by Maharaj Yudhishthira to Vidura in the Srimad Bhagavatam 1:13-10. Maharaj Yudhishthira was receiving his saintly uncle Vidura, who had been visiting sacred places of pilgrimage. Maharaj Yudhishthira told Vidura that pure devotees like him are personified holy places because the Supreme Personality importance of holy places is due to the presence there of such pure devotees. I was listening to a tape the other morning. Srila Prabhupada was lecturing in New York in 1966. And because his audience was completely unversed with anything about the culture or spiritual knowledge or anything related to Krishna consciousness, practically he had to spoon feed them everything. So one lady was curious about the effects of holy places, and Srila Prabhupada was explaining how, actually he was explaining what he's explaining here in this purport to her. And after he explained, she asked the question that, well, don't the holy places themselves have some kind of atmosphere or some kind of influence that as well has an effect? And Prabhupada immediately said, oh yes. He said the holy places of pilgrimage, they also have that effect, therefore the saintly persons go there. Saintly persons are attracted to holy places of pilgrimage because of the atmosphere. And why is that atmosphere there? What is it that creates that atmosphere? There has either been some pastime of the Lord, or there has been some pastime of His great devotees, or sometimes a great devotee has attained success in that place. Just like all over the world, not just here, but all over the world there are places of pilgrimage. In that same lecture, Srila Prabhupada said, in the West they have the Jordan River, and you're supposed to get some benefit by taking bath, purified by taking bath. Jordan River is in Israel. It's in Israel. And also you can go on parikrama of the different...
Where is that Jordan River?
It's in Israel.
Tel Aviv?
No.
It's in Jerusalem.
It goes... Anyway. So the point is that this place where we're sitting, where we are right now, it is, of all the places of pilgrimage, it is the topmost place of pilgrimage. There's a story in the Puranas. You know Kumbh Mela? Kumbh Mela, every once in a while, all the saintly persons, they gather there, and they live together, and they sing the glories of the Lord together, and they discuss spiritual topics together, and it's created a very strong spiritual atmosphere, Kumbh Mela. So all the holy places of pilgrimage, they got together. They wanted to organize some mela in which they were the participants. So they sent out word to everyone, and they all gathered at Prayag. And there was one personality who was conspicuous by her absence, and that was Vrindavan Dham. She was not there. Everyone else was there except for Vrindavan Dham. So they all began to consult among themselves. We all got together because one of the purposes was we were going to decide which one of us is the best Raj Tirt. So how can we have an honest ballot without Vrindavan being there? So what to do? Anyway, after consulting among themselves, they decided that they would all together go to Vrindavan and convince her to come to the Mela, so that they could decide who was the best, what was the best place of pilgrimage. So they all went there, and as soon as they entered into the precincts of Vrindavan, they all became struck with wonder. Now, they became so struck with wonder that all of them simultaneously came to the same conclusion, that actually the reason Vrindavan didn't come here is because she's in a class by herself. Dham ki jai. And they, on the spot, declared her to be the best pilgrimage place. So you know Srila Rupa Goswami, he writes this verse in Upadeshamrita, that better than Vaikuntha is Mathura, because in Mathura Krishna takes his birth, appears like a baby. You know, Krishna doesn't appear like a baby in Vaikuntha. He maintains his profile in the Vaikuntha. He doesn't take the activities of a baby. So because those activities and pastimes are so charming and so delightful and so sweet and sublime, his activities there make Mathura better than Vaikuntha. And then better than Mathura is Vrindavan, because in Vrindavan the Rasa-lila is being performed, which is very intimate, confidential pastime of Krishna. And better than Vrindavan is Govardhan, because here Krishna held Govardhan in his hand with all affection, protecting all the residents out of complete love and affection for all the residents of Vrindavan. And also the most sweet exchanges between Krishna and his devotees, they occur here. And then of course in Govardhan, or around Govardhan Hill, there's so many wonderful places, and all out of which Radhakund is the supreme pilgrimage place, because there the sweetest, most intense form of love and affection exchanged between Krishna and his devotees reaches its crescendo, or its pinnacle. So you may notice, I've been noticing, well, yeah, he changes colors a few times during the day. But, yeah, I don't know whether you noticed, but just down the road, about, a few hundred yards, there's the main, what we say in America, drag. The main drag, the high street, they say in England, or the main street. Yeah, where the road goes to Delhi, and goes to Mathura, and goes to Jaipur, and all these places, Agra, right? So there, it's very congested. If you go there, you'll see, especially during festival days, so many buses are there. They're putting out so much exhaust, smoke, and so much intense vibration is created. But as soon as you walk onto this Prikrama path, and you walk just a few hundred yards, here, there's no pollution. I don't know whether you noticed it. When you breathe, the air is completely clean. Even though just down the road, it's actually, there's, materially speaking, you could say, there's some congestion, there's some pollution. But here, there's no pollution. I was talking with K.K. Modi the other day. You know, this Modi ashram, he came out and called a meeting with the leading residents of Govardhan, and the DM, the district magistrate of Mathura, came, and they were discussing how to preserve and beautify and take care of Govardhan, especially the Prikrama path. And anyway, we made some suggestions on his request. Very nice. Hopefully we'll be able to carry them out someday. And the next morning he asked me over for breakfast. So I went over to breakfast, and he served, I just took a little fruit. I took fruit and lassi, salty lassi. Very nice. The masala was very nice. So we were talking, and he said, you know, I've been all over the world. And he's a big businessman. You know Modi? He's one of the biggest businessmen in the world, practically.
It's the whole city, Modi Nagar.
Yeah. He's huge. Huge. Anyways, let's say he's very wealthy, very influential. So in his business activities over his life, he told me he went to America in the 50s or something for the first time. And he's been literally in every country of the world. And because he's actually a pious man, who else but a pious man would build an ashram in front of Govardhan? Just like our king, who blessed us by building this place so that we could come. Yeah.
Maharaj
Bhavani Singh. So he was saying, I've been all over the world, and wherever I go to conduct my business activities, I make it a point to go to whatever sacred place is there. The only place he hadn't been was Jerusalem, frankly. Anyway, I don't know why, but he didn't do any business in Israel with Israel. And he said, but I've determined that when I come here and sit in front of Giri Govardhan, I actually feel real peace of mind, and I can breathe real pure air, and I can experience a real pure ether. He said, this is definitely, without a shadow of a doubt, by my personal experience, the highest place in the world. Jayo! So, what can I say? In order to live here, you have to become qualified, so we'll try to sometime become qualified so that we can live here. I've been worshipping Giriraj Govardhan in the form of his Srila for almost 7 years now. And every day I've been praying for residents. Now he gave me a little glimpse of what it would be like. And it is so nice. All I can do is hope and pray in my puja every day that he will make that residence eternal.
Yeah. I think we can do Gayatri, and then we'll have some kirtan. This is